Well, this goes down as one of the most friendly and memorable snack in a movies. Take a look at this snack. Nachos. Pam, I don't know. It's a close second with the pie that Brad made for me. But anyways, I'd like to introduce Pam Steciuk and her dad, George Steciuk, who happens to be a pretty big star. So let's get right down to it, Pam. We're talking about a certain documentary that is your first one you've ever made,
Yes.
Together as One. So tell us the storyline about this one.
Well, it's a story about the early years of my dad's life when they were taken from Poland at a young age and in the early, I guess, 40s. And my grandpa was taken to fight with the army. They were taken to a work camp in Russia initially, and then he went to fight with the British Army. And then my dad and my grandma were able to get out, and they were taken to a refugee camp in Africa.
Wow.
And yeah, and after the war, they met my grandfather in England, and then they got sponsored to come to Canada. And it was just a very interesting story once he started telling me about it. And I just wanted to do something more for my family to have a part of the history of where we came from.
Wow. So, George, hearing all of this, a fascinating history, and I'm sure it's probably a story that you really don't share a lot, but I can't imagine what you've gone through.
Well, it's been an interesting life. It started way back when I was only 3.5 years old, born in Poland, and we were, during the war, I guess, taken away by the Russians and given basically about 20 minutes to pack our belongings and, thrown in boxcars. And anyway, we went for a 3-week journey to Siberia. So, and that's kind of where it all started. We spent 2 years in Siberia, and like Pam mentioned, the Polish general made a pact with the British and actually with the Russians also to fight the German army. And so all the able men were able to go and fight in the war to Monte Cassino in Italy. And those that were not able to do anything were the men, the women, and the children. We were all finally released and in caravans all the way through the Asian part, Iraq, Tehran, all that whole area, and finally ended up in Africa. And we stayed in 2 different parts of Africa, and it was.
Do you have memories of Africa?
I have memories of Africa because I was older, and at that stage, it was fun because it was hot. We're on the equator, on the first part of Africa, and being young, what do? You run around, you climb trees like a monkey, and go into the jungle because we were like 50 yards away from the jungle in our encampment. So at that time, it was fun being young, no responsibility, just go and play.
Oh, I mean, now I had mentioned that this is your first documentary, so there's an interesting side story in how the movie was first started on.
Yes. Well, I had gone to see a business contact of mine at this video production company here in the city, and we started talking and ended up that the last question he asked was, is there anything else you want to do or thinking of doing? And it slowly came out that I wanted to write a book initially. But from there, after he heard the story, he's like, no, you need to do more. And initially the word film was tossed out, and I kind of freaked a little bit because I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know about that. But then we decided on this a 30-minute documentary to start, as to get our feet wet, my feet wet, in doing something like this. And a month after I had met him, I was going to be going back to Africa, to Kenya, and which is close to where my dad's last camp was. And so we were talking, and he's like, well, can we come with you? So it's a month of like mad rush of getting everything organized, but we got him and camera crew to come with me to Africa, and we did a lot of videotaping. We found the camp, went over to Tanzania one day, and actually I was able to stand where the Tengeru camp is. They have it preserved as a cemetery, so I was able to stand there. And, you know, along the way, I was going to Amsterdam to meet a friend for a week, but we kind of changed some of those plans and went to spend a few days in the Ukraine, what is now the Ukraine, what used to be Poland, to get some shots there, and then came home and went to Halifax. And all the while, my mom and dad had no idea what I was doing.
All right, so the plot thickens. So before we go to a trailer of the movie, nachos is like, this is your specialty?
Yeah, oh, I love to watch a movie and have nachos.
And I suppose you've had them a lot too, George?
I had a few, yes.
Okay. All right, well, the wine is there. Maybe not for decoration, because it's a snack in the movie.
It is snack. Yeah. We have to have some. Just a little sip.
All right, so we are going to show you an excerpt from Together as One. It's George's story.
My name is George Steciuk. You could pronounce it Steciuk. And I was born in Poland in 1937. It was a little village called Gruszowie. We stayed there till about 1940. I was about 3.5 when we were taken away. They took us, all the people in the areas, packed us into boxcars. All I remember is I was virtually alone, and off we went to Siberia, to Russia. And that was in 1940. In Masindi, they were straw huts that were long, and there were a number of families there were no walls. There were just curtains dividing families in this hut. The round houses that we had in Tengeru, they were made out of clay brick with a straw roof.
One of the things I'd really, really wanted to do on this trip to tie things together too was to be able to get inside one of those round style huts, because he had talked about it and described it to me. And I know as we were walking up to the hut, I can totally remember that. Like, I started to feel like I was hyperventilating. I don't know why this is suddenly so hard.
These are the guys who has experience of making this kind of a style of a house with a sharp pointed roof.
And then just walking through that door was like I was taking a step back in time. Just to have a minute alone in here. Is it okay if I just sat in here for a minute by myself?
Yeah, no problem.
The picture that was there could easily have been my grandma and my dad. And it was like I was looking down on them all those years ago. It's hard to actually stand in something that my dad lived in as a child. Do you know how small it was? How hard it would be to sleep on the ground?
It's so different than what we know, what I know. Those huts are still like my dad described it from 60, 70 years ago when he was there. A door, a window, mud, ground. To me, I just totally, at one point, put my grandma's and my dad's faces on that woman and that child. And it was like I was there with them. And at that point, I was like, holy crow, they literally came from nothing. And how lucky we are to have that, because things could have been a lot different.
Welcome back. That was just an excerpt from Together as One. And while George is enjoying the nachos, okay, Pam, I'm a bit astounded, a little confused. Your dad is being interviewed. You're traipsing off around the world getting clips of his history. And he knew nothing about it.
No, he knew nothing about it. I wanted it to be a surprise for him. First off, if he knew what I was doing, my mom and him would be worrying the entire time I was gone. They knew I was going back to Africa, to Kenya on a trip, but they didn't know the intricacies of what I was doing once this plan was set in motion. I falsified my itinerary for them because I always like to have one when I travel. And one of the bonuses is that when I do travel over to Africa, I'm sort of off the grid. They don't expect to hear from me, so I don't post on Facebook. I don't call unless there's an emergency or something, which is rare. So they know not to hear from me. So then, like I said, we changed my plans in Amsterdam and went videoing and everything. And to get my dad on tape was another little white lie that I just started piling on all the the stuff that was already happening. And I told a story that a friend of mine, her brother was taking a videography, cinematography course at a local college, and one of the projects that they were doing were to create a video of an interest story, local interest story, and the gentleman he was supposed to have been interviewing fell ill. And it's like, now last minute, can my dad, because this girl, was aware of his story. So I'm on the phone with him again, like, crossing my fingers and biting my tongue so that, it doesn't come out as like he knows I'm, telling a tall tale. But finally he agreed after a little bit of coaxing. And so they came to my mom and dad's house and set up everything on the auspice of a school project.
Right.
And asked all the questions, got him on tape, had my aunt there, and it was just, it kind of all just fell into place. And all the while I'm just like, I hope nobody, one of the guys doesn't,
Spill
it. Yeah. And after it was done, then, I kind of made up a story again that the college was throwing a party to thank all the families who had taken part in this project, and everybody was just to come down, and they were going to be showing these 10, 15-minute videos that all the people in the class had done. So they came to this party thinking that it was just going to be Red River people, or I said the college, sorry, but when in fact it was family and friends, and just a little, big party for them, and he was totally surprised and showed it to them. Yeah.
Yes, and I heard that you arrived in a limo, and there was almost like a red carpet feeling. You didn't know what was happening?
Totally. Again, Pam had us fooled completely. She called me and said, by the way, I've got a limo to pick you up for this event. And I'm telling Gertrude, do we want to go in a limo? What, limos are expensive. And I keep talking to Pam, and I said, Pam, we don't need a limo. I know where I'm going. I know exactly. I'll get there in time. Don't worry. And save
you
your
got
money.
there. Yes.
Yeah.
So my question to you, George, what was it like sitting there and seeing your life being told on screen?
Well, I was blown away. And when I saw what was happening, tears streamed down, and I was just totally choking up because all these people, and with me realizing that what was happening, and initially, as Pam mentioned, it was going to be just a little blurb of all the different people
In your life.
telling their stories, and here we are, and I was in shock and totally blown away, and I just, it took me a while to kind of get over it. So.
Oh, no doubt. Now, Pam, too, I mean, to tell the story, the visuals were wonderful, and through this all, what have you learned and gained besides knowing your father's story more?
Well, it's been an interesting journey, learning more about my dad's story, but to be able to walk in his footsteps to some degree in some of these places, to stand where he was, to be in one of the huts that he used to live in as a child, that was very emotional. And it just makes me realize how much they gave up and what they came from and how little they came from and how lucky me and my sisters and, the rest of my family are to have had such great parents and grandparents who survived the trials and tribulations that they went through. And throughout it, they never lost hope or faith. And it's so easy nowadays for people to just start blaming other people or, they expect things. We live in a very give me society now. And to go back there and see how people are still living and to realize, like I said, what my mom or my dad and my grandma came from and what they've given so that they could provide for their family is
Simply amazing.
It is.
It is.
It is.
Where do you want to see this film go?
Well, I would really, really like to get it into the school system, if we can, into history classes, so that we could show it and have a question and answer period after, because my dad is still here, so the students could ask him all types of questions of what it was like, and just to give them an understanding of maybe what their family has come from as well, get them thinking about where their history lies. That would be awesome for me. That's one of the big things I would like. And into organizations, churches, maybe, whoever, veterans societies.
That would be wonderful, too, to share this because, these are the stories that will be lost if they're not told now. And so thank you so much for your story and sharing it. And I know that some way, shape, or form, you will see the entire Together as One. Thank you, George. Thank you so much, Pam. It's been wonderful. And, that wraps up another Snack in the Movie.
Man preaches to assemblies.
On Electric City, Conrad Sweatman joins host Michael Walker.
Country with a wink, raise my drink.